Hey there, it's Dr. Karen, and today I wanted to talk about language evaluation tools. Now, I get a lot of questions about this. Typically, people say, what's the best test that I can use for language evaluations? Or a lot of times I'll be giving a presentation about my 5 component framework for language therapy, and people ask, well, how do I assess them before I start this? Or again, really just what assessment should I be using for language evaluation? So first, I just want to say that it's always very hard for me to answer that question because I don't know anything about their students. I don't know what their students are struggling with. I don't know their age. I don't know their profile. So it's very hard for me to give those specific recommendations. And then the other thing about that is that really we need to be asking a different question. A language evaluation is a process, not a test. And so while certain tests, especially norm reference tools, might be part of that process, they are not the full evaluation. We want to think of an evaluation as kind of this big portfolio that gives us a complete picture of our students' skills. So that means that a norm reference assessment might be part of that. And then you also might be gathering academic data from teachers, so using some of their formal test scores, also some work samples. You also might be having some conversations and writing some narratives about what teachers are reporting in the classroom. You might be doing some rating scales, both formal, standardized and not standardized, to just kind of get this nice complete picture of what the child is doing. And it's really hard to just pinpoint that with just a test. Now, I do have some tools that I like more than others. I like the TILs. I don't like the SELF as much as I like the TILs because I think that the TILs is better from a sensitivity standpoint, but that is just something that I have come up with based on my own practice and based on the data that's available. But again, it totally depends on the context. And so the way that I teach this is that when SLPs come in to work with me, so specifically if they're going to come into my Language Therapy Advanced Foundations course that teaches SLPs a framework for language therapy, what I start with doing is that I teach them the big picture, the framework for intervention before I even get to evaluations, because many times if they don't know that information first, it doesn't make sense for me to start talking about data collection and assessment. And a lot of times people think, oh, don't I need to test them? Don't I need to do baseline data? Do I need to do progress monitoring on these language skills? Well, a lot of the language skills that I teach are things that are very embedded within other skills. And so the whole point of your therapy is to help kids to do better on functional skills. And so, yes, you are going to write some specific goals, which I show you how to do in the course. You are going to write some specific goals that are going to give you something specific to measure in therapy, which is also going to be could be part of your evaluation. But you really want to focus on the big picture and the functional skills. And so when you're thinking about the effectiveness of your therapy, you don't necessarily have to reinvent the wheel and do some kind of a formal assessment on the 5 components I teach, because those things are just a strategy that are going to help you get to the end goal that you're probably already measuring through some of your formal evaluations, or even just things that are going on in the classroom. So reading comprehension assessments, writing samples, and things like that. So within the course, I actually do give you a manual that helps you to get a nice complete picture of how the student is functioning. It's called the SPOT Framework Guide, and I teach you how to use a combination of data from your therapy sessions, norm referenced assessments, informal or non-standardized tools that you can use to gather information from teachers and just really get a complete picture of your students. But it doesn't make sense for me to talk about that before you learn the framework. So that's why I start with the framework first. And again, remembering that a language evaluation is a process, it is not a test. And I can make some specific recommendations about tests if I know the context, which I often do for my students in Language Therapy Advanced Foundations as they bring cases for me, or as they bring cases to the group and ask questions about them. But really, we want to start with that framework. And so that's how I handle this. So to learn more about how to become a Language Therapy Advanced Foundations member so that you can learn that process, so that you can learn that complete framework and how it fits in to language evaluations and getting that nice complete picture of your students, then check out our enrollment page at drkarenspeech.com/language therapy. Again, that's drkarenspeech.com/language